Yes, we're gonna start. And if I'm talking too fast, let me know. If you want me to repeat something? Let me know. Just unmute yourself and you'll be fine. All right, so again, this is medical school one-on-one. So this is a very basic introduction to the medical school process. So yeah, so all of my knowledge is limited to like one-on-one, okay? Just so you know, for future reference. Okay, so why take the MCAT? The MCAT is the entry exam that one takes to get into medical school. So why you take it because if you want to go to medical school to become an MD, DO, MD, PhD, vet, any sort of medical physician, doctor, that's why you take it. If you want to go to law school, you take the LSAT. So that's like the difference between MCAT, LSAT, GRE, grad school. Yeah, that's why you take the MCAT. And so to take the MCAT, you have to create a Association of American Medical College account. So that's how you register for the MCAT. When taking the MCAT, there are roughly, or before you actually go, make sure you arrive 30 minutes to an hour early. Bring your ID, pack a lunch because it's roughly a 7-hour test. So make sure you're prepared for that. So regarding MCAT and COVID, it's unlike the other entry exams, the MCAT is still being taken in person. So yeah, be prepared to take it in person, not online. However, of course, if you're not feeling well, don't go to your exam. Like, please don't go. What you're gonna do instead is um, you're going to go onto your account and you're going to submit an emergency refund request, and they'll fully give you your money back for your exam. And then after you feel better, you register for another one. And then, so what is on the MCAT? So the MCAT has 4 sections. So those sections are the biological and biochemical foundations of living systems, chemical and physical foundations of biological systems, these and that. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what these mean, but I'm assuming a lot of you are STEM. I hope you guys know what these mean. But besides those 4 sections, you do have 2 optional breaks, a lunch. So be prepared again to be there for roughly 6 to 7 hours. It's a very long exam. Quick question for all of you. It was talked about today with my supervisor that maybe us as EOP and GIP, we might want to host like a practice mock MCAT. I'm going to submit a poll. Can you guys please answer if you're like down to like participate in that? So like what that would be is instead of it being like in person, because we can't be in person, it would be virtual. It would probably be around the same like 5, 6, 7 hour time frame, just to give you guys an idea of like, okay, how would I do on this MCAT? So how would I like, what do I need to do to prepare myself? Just to like see like who is actually down to do that if I were to host it, because that is a kind of a big event to host. So I want to make sure if I'm going to do it, people would actually show up. Okay, valid. All right, that's cool. Thank you. If you want to, those are the results. But yeah, cool. Thank you guys. So that's something we might do. Okay, so how to prepare for the MCAT. So for what I tell all of my students that come to see me is always take a practice test first before doing anything. Like take the test on your own, see how you do without studying, like, and so that way you know what you need to study for and how much you need to invest in studying. The Princeton Review offers free MCAT practice tests. Just go on their website. Again, I'm going to give you access to these slides, so you go on the links yourself through the slides. And then after you take the practice test, look at your score and you'll see there how much you have to invest on like your study time. So like getting a private tutor, which is very expensive, study on your own, get like books or study groups. Us, GIP, if you want, we also offer resources. I can't fully tell you right now what kind, but if you want, in the email that I'm going to send you a Google form where you could come talk to one of us, and we will tell you what type of like materials we have to offer you in order to study. And we have a lot of good ones. So just so you know now. So what is a good test score? The highest score you could get on the MCAT is a 528. So you want at least the mean of that. So, and then of course, your test result isn't everything. It usually is balanced out with your GPA. So work on getting your GPA as high as possible. Regarding the MCAT, you could only take it 7 times total in your lifetime. You could take it 3 times every year. So just make sure you keep that in mind when studying and choosing what dates you want to do your MCAT. And then you could only hold 1 spot reservation per time. So like you could only choose one test date at a time. After you do that date and finish that test, you could then register for another test if you want to retake it. Yes. Okay, so the cost for the MCAT cost is a little confusing. The way that they have it worked out is by zones. So if you apply 1 month prior to the actual, like 1 month or more prior to the actual exam, you get it at the cheapest price, which is around $305. And then the price here includes sending your scores. So when you apply for your exam, you also list down what schools you want to receive your MCAT score for this exam. So the gold zone is when you want to start applying for your MCAT. So that way you get the cheapest cost. Silver is 3 to 4 weeks before registering before the exam, and then 1 to 2 weeks is bronze, which is a lot more expensive than the others. So keep that in mind when registering, but sometimes you can't help it. You have to just choose bronze, which is perfectly fine, but just like, be prepared for like the fact that to take the MCAT, you have to have money saved to take it. And then again, you apply for the MCAT on the AAMC account. So your score does not expire on the AAMC. However, schools typically don't accept students that have scores that are older than 2 or 3 years. So keep that in mind when like taking your MCAT and knowing when you want to start applying to med school. So yeah. And so then also, I don't know what your majors are. However, please know that you do not have to be an MCD biology chemistry major. You really don't. They accept all majors. So for example, sociology, physics, history, etc. As all you need is to meet the minimum requirements. And these requirements are you need 1 year of biology with the labs, 1 year of physics with the labs, 1 year of English, 1 year of math, 2 years of chemistry with the labs. And then what they recommend you also take are courses on like computer anatomy, cell biology, I can't pronounce that, microbiology, neuroscience, psychology, sociology, and Spanish. So just keep this in mind when like making your decision on whether or not you want to go to med school. And then here is a link with for the AAMC account where you register for the MCAT. On that same account, you could also research different schools and see what their specific requirements are as well. Okay, so for GPA, like I mentioned earlier, the average GPA for people who get into med school is a 3.5, but accepted usually is 3.2 to 3.8. This all just comes down to like your GPA, your MCAT score, and then also what you do outside of school. So research, internships, how good your essays are. That's all that kind of comes down to. So GPA is sometimes the initial cutoff maker. So you do want to try to get as high of a GPA as possible. And again, that's when I go back to going on the website to see what your specific school average GPA is. And then if you want to take a gap year, what is usually recommended during gap years is you could become an EMT, take that time to study for the MCAT or just med school in general, do volunteer work, internships, clinical experience, and then if you can do research, I would start looking into research now. Like I know me personally, I'm taking this class next year because I know that the professor always does research. So I want to see if I'm able to like maybe help him out. Start looking into those kind of opportunities because that's really what makes your application stand out. All right, schools. So yeah, you could go on this link to start researching schools. Again, every school is different, so they don't all cost the same to apply. They don't all require the same requirements. Also look into like what state you want to go to, all these different things. And yeah, also reminder to start saving up for grad or med school applications because they do cost a lot. Letter of recs. Again, every school is different. For example, UCI requires roughly 3 to 6. Johns Hopkins recommends 2 to 3. So you want to try to at least get a few professors on that list because professors truly are the ones that could advocate for you and say, yeah, they are a good student. We recommend that. We do think they are capable of getting a higher educational degree. You could also get letter of recs from NDs, PI directors, committee leaders. Those are all acceptable. However, you do need at least a couple of professors on your list. So start working on those now. I know those are hard to acquire, but you need those. All right, and then also once again, extracurriculars and volunteering are also extremely helpful. So volunteer in local hospitals / clinics, get involved in research, work. If you work part-time, full-time, and then you've had that job for a long time, that also shows how hard worker you are, and schools actually really like that. So yeah, also you could also work as an EMT, medical assistant, clinical hospital rep, or a scribe. A lot of people like scribe work. Do community service. Also, internships are great. I recommend starting your LinkedIn now if you haven't already. Like through my LinkedIn, I just got a new internship, and like I got it through a person that I met on LinkedIn and messaged them. So LinkedIn actually does work. So definitely start your account on that as well. Okay, your resume. Your resume is very important. You want to make sure it's clean, to the point, and only has things that are, I guess, I don't know what the word is, but an example of a good resume is this one. So see their name, big and bold, their education, work experience with a short little blurb of what they did. Also their GPA. I was always told if you have a 3.5 and above GPA, definitely put it on your resume. That's what I believe. But so they have a 3.7, so they put it on their resume. They have all of their work experience, researching, clinical research intern, medical scribe, and then their awards and scores. If you have good scores on like things that are important to like your career path, put those on there. If you have difficult classes that you took, put those on there as well. Yeah, that's an example of a good resume. All right. Okay, transcripts. So annoyingly enough, you actually have to pay for your transcripts. So the way that this works is you go to your school. So in this case, UCSC, you go to the registrar's office. You can either call or just go in and ask them to receive your transcripts. This usually costs $16. So you want to make sure, if you don't want to constantly pay for it, just keep a copy of it for yourself. And then usually, depending on your school, either you're going to mail it or you're going to submit it electronically. Also, do this for every school you attended. So if you went to community college, make sure you do it for all of those as well. Okay, statement of purpose. This is a short little thing I did about statement of purpose. So a quote that I found is, always tell the truth When writing your statement of purpose, you want to make sure that you always tell the truth and be sure to mention activities and volunteer, research, or work experiences that are most important and relevant. That was the word that I wanted to say for the resume part. For your resume, make sure everything on there is relevant to what you are trying to apply to. Yeah. So these essays are not meant to be creative writing exercises. You may start off with a descriptive experience, however, move quickly into how and why you want to become a physician and how this experience helped determine that. Also, proofread carefully. Regarding proofreading, if you want help on your statement of purpose, again, feel free to make an appointment with one of us. We also do this. We also help you with this. There are no excuses for punctuation and grammatical errors. We know you are applying to several schools, but be careful to include the correct name in the secondary materials. So yeah, it's not recommended to use the same essay for every school because you want to make sure it's personal to each school. However, keep track of that. So working with an advisor, us, have people peer read essays and experiences. However, while many are very good at accumulating experiences, they're sometimes not so good at putting these experiences in context or effectively communicating them to interviewers and application reviewers. Do not use the same essay for every application. Your ability to speak firsthand at the impact of clinical volunteer work on your future career plans is a compelling aspect of the selection and admissions process. Your application should highlight the goals of the school and how your experiences will contribute to the overall mission. So again, don't use the same essay for every school. And then some schools will ask you to interview. So this is where you also should take time to practice your interviewing skills. What I also recommend doing is practicing what kind of questions you're going to ask the interviewers. So here is a link to type of topics that you want to maybe talk about. So asking them about the curriculum, what student involvement is like, specific programs that you're interested in, maybe ask about financial aid and different things. And here's a little link that you could use to kind of jot notes down while you practice for your interview. Okay. Also, we also do practice interviews if you're interested. And again, coming back to us. And then some schools will ask you for a secondary application. Don't be alarmed by this. It's actually a pretty cool thing and a good thing if they want to know more about you. So they might ask you to write more essays or give them more information. They might even ask for a photo. To just be prepared for this. So make sure you're always keeping track of your accounts. That's my dog. Okay, so now here's a timeline of kind of how you're meant to go about the med school application process. So prior to applying, you want to make sure you kind of have a list of letters of recommenders and start to talk to them about writing your letter of recommendation. Depending on the school, either the recommender will submit them to the school on their own, or you're going to have to do it again, but that's depending on the actual school. Again, prepare for your MCAT, register for a date. You truly don't want to take the MCAT later than May or June of the year you want to submit your application. And then attend various workshops like this one to start preparing for what else you need to know. There is a admissions requirement PDF that you could look at, but in order to look at it, you kind of have to make your AAMC accounts. So that's also something that you should start doing now. And then also save money because this is a very expensive process. All right, so April, May of your application year, you should start taking the MCAT. If you take a MCAT later than that goes after June, it kind of puts you at a disadvantage for the admissions process. So try to not do that. So start as early as possible. And then applications become available during this time. So fill out your primary application. And then this is usually also when you should start collecting your transcripts from all universities and colleges that you attended. And then what I recommend doing also is during this time, you should start researching schools that you want to apply to. So what you should do is create an Excel sheet of all of the schools, their application deadlines, their fees, their requirements and etc. So that way you have it all visually there. And then also during this time, I think you might still be in school, or maybe you're taking a gap year. So make sure you're focusing on finals or work or volunteer, whatever you're doing. So make sure you make time for this, but also you don't lag on your other responsibilities. All right, so June of the application year, you want to make your final decisions on which medical schools you want to apply to and submit that primary application. You want to send your official transcripts either to the AAMC account or whatever that school has asked you to send it. Have your letters rec sent to AAMCAS, and then again, check for individual schools' criteria. And then usually during this time, the AMCAS, the account, will verify your primary application. If there's any like false things, they'll contact you to fix it. And then medical school decisions regarding secondary applications begin to forward it to applicants. So if you have a secondary application, they're also going to start to like contact you during this time. So the verification process continues during July. You'll still be notified regarding the primary application or any problems that they might have had. And then med schools will still start to send out secondary applications during this time. So again, be prepared for that. Or if you're invited for an interview, be prepared for that. And then continue to submit your primary application if you haven't. So then August of application year, you want to finish up submitting your secondary application. Begin to check your medical school application status to see, like, make sure it's good. And then September through March/April of the application year, again, to continue preparing for interviews, continue to complete and submit secondary applications, send medical schools applications under updates if they need updates, and then continue to check your status on the website for individual med schools. And then October through May of the application year, med schools start to like meet, and then they'll start to send you your either accepted, rejected, or waitlisted. So this is when you're notified. March through May of the application year is when they will start to invite you to come visit their school before you fully decide to go there. And then May of the application year is when you have to notify the school in regards to whether you want to go there or not. Before you do this, what I recommend doing, or I say everybody, is first things first. Let's say you apply, let's say you got into your dream school and this other school. However, this other school is offering you more aid than your dream school. You could ask your dream school to match their aid. It doesn't always happen. However, they have the money, so they are willing to consider it. So make sure you do that before accepting any sort of financial aid that you might have been offered. Also, let's say you want to visit a school that's out of state, but you don't fully have the funds to travel. You could contact that school, and usually they are willing to help you pay for your travel fees, because again, they do have that kind of money and they want you to go to their school. So make sure you use all resources before doing anything. Yeah, but during May is when you start to notify schools that you want to attend their school. So then May through August, applicants on the wait list are notified with a possible admissions offer. So if you're waitlisted, make sure you're also still watching for your status to change. But typically in June, medical schools officially confirm their class of that year. And then August through September, medical school orientation starts to begin for the new year. And then an applicant on a wait list can no longer be offered a position at another school once orientation begins at a medical school. Who is that? Oh, hi. Okay. And so a 40 med school, again, very expensive. You want to make sure you're applying to FAFSA. And then during your downtime, you want to make sure you're also researching different scholarships that might be out there. There are a lot. Look into student loans. I know they suck, but sometimes you just have to do it. And then again, work on your personal savings. And if you have family to help you, try to have them help you. And then again, save money. If there are fee waivers out there everywhere, again, contact EOP or us and try to meet with us, and maybe we can help you out with fee waivers for applications at least. So that is kind of like the breakdown of that. And then I had a question on one of the Google forms about how to become a psychiatrist. And so I know I said this is a one-on-one thing, but I want to make a little slide about this process. It's not much different. However, how it goes is, again, you don't need a specific degree to become one, as long as you meet the general requirements, which is usually bio, general chemistry, organic chemistry, calculus, and physics. Take the MCAT. You have to take the MCAT, get into medical school, and medical school usually takes up to 4 years. So the higher grades you have in medical school, the better chances you have of getting into a good residency, which is what you want. And that's for everybody. So once you finish med school, you have to complete your psychiatric residency. This usually takes another 4 years. During residency, you will learn about and treat a wide range of mental health conditions, usually in a hospital setting. And then after you finish residency, you become board certified with the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology. Good luck. Board certification is optional, but most psychiatrists want to be certified. You'll need to take a board certification exam and renew your certification every 10 years. So make sure you keep studying. Complete any additional state licensing requirements. Most states require doctors to complete a certain number of continuing educational credits to keep their license. Okay, and so then pre-health dreamers. So for those of you who might be undocumented, there is actually a website called Prehealth Dreamers with a lot of information. Again, I'm going to send you guys this link, this slide, so you have access to these links. In this website, they also have this link right here, which I have put on the slides, of different types of scholarships that you might want to apply to. I took a look at it, and they have a lot for different counties as well. And they gave you kind of a breakdown of all of them. So high school, community college, and then you would want to look at the graduate professional one right here. So yeah, definitely take a look at that. And then for this also, I took the liberty of going onto the website already, and I kind of jotted down or like took some screenshots of some important information that I wanted you all to read. So medical schools may have discriminatory admissions requirements for undocumented applicants and only allow U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and occasional international students. However, if a medical school does not accept undocumented students to their program, I can't pronounce that word, I'm so sorry, process may be challenging to navigate. When you are admitted to a medical school and decide to attend, you may have to gather the support you need to pay tuition and find holistic support. Often medical schools must follow the rules of the institution that housed them, which makes it difficult for them to change process and requirements quickly. Even more, some colleges do not have an undocumented category as a type of status for registration. Most only have U.S. citizen, permanent resident, and various types of visa holders. In some cases, students have to petition to be considered as an international student to enroll. You can ask the following questions to the school that you are interested in. Will I have a difficult time registering at your school because of my undocumented status? And is there a category that I fall under with the registration office? Various schools have expressed their loyal support for undocumented applicants. They will consider them for admission. For example, Loyola Stritch School of Medicine Chicago has updated their eligibility requirements to include youth eligible for DACA. And then there's like a website to learn more about that. So that's just something else that you should probably research before you commit to a school or like you commit to applying to a school. And then residency programs. So again, like residency programs is what you do after you finish med school. So, oh my God. Okay, wait, my bad. I can't read that. Medical students enter residency programs after they complete 4 years of medical school. Residency programs are very different from med school programs because you are considered an employee of the hospital you work in and are considered a physician in training, not a student. During this time, trainees will practice under the full supervision of a licensed physician for 2 to 7 years, depending on your specialty. For example, a person who has received a medical degree and wants to become a surgeon needs additional training and will receive it through surgical residency programs. Residency programs present a tremendous obstacle for undocumented students because they must be eligible for employment. Under the DACA program, we anticipate that those who have received work authorization will have no problem with the hospital hiring them, and they can complete residency programs. Undocumented individuals without employment authorization and social security number may have difficulty finding residency experiences since they are categorized as employees. Since residents are on the payroll and receive benefits, programs may not provide you a spot in the residency programs. However, there may be other opportunities for you in healthcare sector once you complete med school. Please contact PhD Dreamers for more information. So yeah, that's kind of just information that I wanted to also put out there for those of you to consider and to look more into. And then other resources besides GIP and then whatever else there is on campus is that the Career Center does have pre-health coaching. So they have drop-in hours, but you could also schedule an appointment with them through Handshake. And then again, also appointment with us, which I'll send you the link to through email. But that is actually the end of my presentation. Esmeralda, you can stop recording now.